Hello everyone, happy Monday, Yom Tov. It's me, it's Hedda, your local friendly, I don't know. It's Monday, what can I tell you? It's the start of another week. And I hope everybody, no matter where you are in the world, is having a really good day today. So, anyway, Haveners, what do you think of the hair? I got it trimmed on Saturday early. And I don't know if any of you OG Haveners remember when I said that when I had wiggy on, I wanted to get my hair so it would look like wiggy did, and it was all the bits and pieces and the hair and the curls and all falling about. Well, as you can see, it's really starting to take shape now. All I wanted is about, say, another 3 to 4 inches, and then that'll be it. I'll be quite happy, and it'll just look like a darker version of a wiggy. I'll have one side of my hair that's always fairly tame, and then I'll have another side of my hair that, like I said, reminds me very, very much of the ex-husband. You know, didn't matter what I did, it never did it. It was told and just, you know, stuck out in awkward places. What can I tell you? Like most things that don't work, they're all just garbage. Get rid, throw them away. Okay, so I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. Unfortunately for me, the fibromyalgia bit me really hard late Saturday afternoon, and I ended up going to bed, and I actually didn't get up until 10:15 Sunday evening. I just felt absolutely awful. As I was telling you about the other week, when it comes to things like fibromyalgia, you know, sometimes generally I do tend to get a warning, but this time it just seemed to hit me like the proverbial 10-ton truck, and it was this time, and I think it was probably because of the change in the weather. There was awful pains in my legs and my arms. Just, you know, if anybody had a voodoo doll of me and there was sticking pins everywhere, well, that's where it hit. Just about everywhere, literally from my scalp down. Everywhere was just rotten, and I didn't feel very well at all. So I missed out on an awful lot of stuff, family stuff, things like that. But never mind, here I am. Like I said, I probably do look a bit tired. Like I said, I got up at 10:15 Sunday night last night, and I ended up staying up all night. I'm actually very surprised I've got any eye makeup on today, because if you'd seen my eyes sort of 18 hours ago, excuse me, I actually couldn't see out of this eye. It was just tight shut, really swollen. So, you know, it just is what it is. Anyway, there was a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about today. And one of them I didn't realise, and it's really sad, and it's something that we all must keep in mind, considering when it comes to mental health. I didn't realise that in the UK alone, you know, every 90 seconds, someone ends their lives. And the statistics show that it's mostly men under the age of 35. And I didn't realise how bad the statistics actually were. And then I had a strange thing happen this afternoon. I had to go out. I normally see the lymphedema nurses on a Monday. And when I was out, we needed a few bits and pieces of extra groceries that we can't get online. And I drove up to the local shop, And there's a young lad that I know who is homeless, and he's called Jimmy. And he's had a really rotten life, all in all. And at this time of year, considering it's the high holy days, and I'm being a very, very naughty Jewish person, because strictly speaking, I shouldn't be online, and I shouldn't be, using Twitter and Facebook and things like this. And tomorrow night is the beginnings of Yom Kippur. We have the Erev Yom Kippur, which is called Kol Nidre, which is preparing us for Yom Kippur, which is known as the Day of Atonement. And for everything that we've done in the past year to anyone, we have to say, if you can forgive me for what I've done, then that's really charitable of you. If you can't forgive me for what I've done, then that's my burden to carry. But I do atone for it. And it's not like the Catholics where, they can go to confession and say 10 Hail Marys and an Our Father and give a donation to, the charity box or whatever. We've got to sit in prayer for many hours and really think hard. And you've got to really think hard about every person that you've had a crossword with, that you've upset, that you've hurt in whatever way. And you've got to sit and think hard about the person or persons and how they would have felt. And, we don't kneel when we're in shul or synagogue. We have seats. We're either stand or we sit. Or in my case, I just sit all the time. And I'm allowed special dispensation because during Yom Kippur, you fast for 25 hours. You can't take a drop of water. You can't eat a bite of food. You fast for that full time and you pray. And you pray hard. And all of it is about asking for forgiveness. Saying, I know that I've done wrong and I am atoning for it. You've got to be genuine when you say how you feel. And like you say, you hope for forgiveness, but if it's not forthcoming, then that's your own personal burden that you have to bear. And at the same time, you're supposed to do a charitable act. So I took the opportunity today, and I never thought for one little minute it was going to be Jimmy. But I took the chance today to do my charitable act. And please, this is not about, look at how good you're being and what have you. No, it's not. I've done a few things for Jimmy in the past that haven't been connected to Yom Kippur at all. But he is a very sad case. He's got himself off drugs and he was just pulling his life together. He'd actually gone to prison and he just about lost everything apart from his mum. and I guess he got himself clean. The only place he could go back to was his mum's, and he'd been living with her for a couple of days, just less than 6 months, when he could have had his name put on her tenancy. When one night she'd been given sleeping pills to help her sleep, and she took 2 and she wasn't able to get to sleep, so she took an extra one and she went to sleep, and she never woke up. And the poor boy, within about a week, found himself out in the street, because they said you're less than a week short of living with her for 6 months, and they weren't even going to give him just those few days, just a few days grace to keep the flat on. They turfed him out, and because he's now of no fixed abode, you know, he can't get any help with any income support, you know, anything welfare related. So he has to beg. And that's what he does. He sits outside of this local store and he begs every day. He's literally skin and bone. I couldn't tell you the last time he had a wash. And he does have mental health problems. His clothes are just rags. And I gave him some cigarettes. And it's been particularly cold today. It's been really damp, really grey, really dull. And I was asking him how he was getting on. Not particularly well. But there was a couple of nice people who went to the store and they bought him some sandwiches, and so he said, oh, that's great, at least I've got something to eat tonight. His sleeping bag had been stolen, so he didn't have a sleeping bag. And I asked him where he was going to go to sleep that night, and he went, well, anywhere I can just get in out the rain. Anyway, long story short, and I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it, but I managed to get him into a place where he's now got 2 nights where he can sleep somewhere, in the warm and in the dry. I honestly don't know what he's going to do beyond that, but he's got a roof over his head tonight and tomorrow night. And I've arranged to go and catch up with him if I can find him later in the week. I've got some clothes that might be a little bit big for him, but they're clean and they'll keep him warm. They're dry. There's nothing wrong with them. They just haven't been worn in ages. So I'm going to take them down. And I don't know, it sounds ridiculous. You know, I don't use a script and I just speak from the heart. But I know this video's like all over the place, and I didn't intend for it to be that way, honestly, I didn't. But I just got to thinking about, you know how I was said that I just wanted to make people smile and laugh. And I have tried to do that. I mean, not particularly well, but I have tried to do that. And I've tried through the stories just to give people, you know, something else to focus on apart from what I call the SSDD, same shit, different day, and just give them something else to think about instead of worrying about their mental health or worrying about this or worrying about that. If they just had a little bit of fantasy, something else to think about. And I suppose it just all ties in with it being the time of year that it is, the way that the weather is. We're just hitting Yom Kippur, as I say, tomorrow night. And as a Jewish person, you know, you do the acts of atonement, but you're supposed to do an act of charity as well to prove that you're trying to do something practical as well as something spiritual in a way. And although, okay, there are people that I will have hurt who will never forgive me, and I can say I'm sorry till I'm blue in the face, but if they choose not to forgive me, that is their right, and that is just the burden that I'm going to have to bear, and I'll take it, you know. I had my part to play in it as well, you know. It just wasn't all me, but you know, I had my part to play in it as well. But alongside that, it's just this thing where you have to prove that while you are trying to atone for the things that you've done, that you reach out and try and help someone in need. And as it was just all seemed to come together at once. You know, there was Jimmy, and you know, he opened the car door and he gave me a great big hug. And oh my God, that poor boy. I wanted to go and, you know, bring him home with me and, you know, give him a shower and a hot meal and what have you, but that's something he would never do. He'd never let anybody do that for him. So, I mean, he begs, but it's so he can find somewhere, at least pay someone to let them sleep on the floor or something like that. But if anybody goes to give him money, he'll ask them, well, could you get me a packet of cigarettes, or could you get me a sandwich, or could you go and buy me a hot drink, that sort of thing, you know. So at least I know it's not going on drugs, because that's one thing I wouldn't do. I couldn't do that. It wouldn't be right. But I think what I basically want to say about today is, and I was going to talk about different things, but I think it's basically me remembering how lucky I am. I mean, I complain about being in this chair and about my independence going, and you know, things I still haven't come to terms with really, especially not mentally and emotionally. But I've got a roof over my head and a warm home and food whenever I want it, hot drinks whenever I want them. I know I've got the COPD, but I'm not going to lie to you, there are still times I reach for a cigarette. Especially when I feel low. But if any of you can, if you can remember the homeless, a lot of the homeless do have mental health problems. A lot of the time it's not their fault that they're on the streets, you know. I know some of them prefer it because it's a lifestyle that they've become accustomed to, and they do prefer you know not being in a regular home, and that's fine. If that's their choice, that's fine. But in Jimmy's case, he wants to have a home. He wants a roof over his head, and he just can't get one. And I don't know the right places to get him to go to get some help. I know he goes to the Salvation Army, and I know there's a couple of churches that he goes to where he can get a shave and a wash and things like that. There's not many places he can go to get clothes, because he's just skin and bone. He's so pitifully thin. We've got a thing where I am, and it's up and down the country, called the People's Kitchen. And, every night they have a wagon open where the homeless can queue up and they can get thick soup, chunky soup with bread buns, or they can get a stew or like a curry or something like that, something to keep them warm, and as many hot drinks as they want. And if you're very lucky, sometimes they'll have not new sleeping bags, but they'll be able to hand over some second-hand sleeping bags they've collected. So I've reminded him if he can get himself down there to see if there's something there for him. But as he says, it's all bus fares, and bus fares are not cheap. So like I said, I've managed to get him a roof over his head for the next couple of nights. And we've got the weather forecast, and it's going to be very windy, very cold, raining. And I don't know, I just hated the thought of thinking of just not walking away from him, but driving away from him, only just having given him a few fags. I couldn't, my conscience wouldn't let me. So if you know anybody who's homeless, if you can get them some clothes, or, if you can give them some food, or if you know that they can get somewhere for a night or two, but it's going to cost them a few quid, then see what you can do to arrange that for them. If you can do something to help them on a more permanent basis, getting them housed and what have you, because some of them do desperately want to be off the streets. Jimmy wants to work, but nobody will touch him. His appearance is terrible, and nobody will touch him. And it's awful, it's a vicious circle. And a lot of people might say, well, you're just putting a patch over a big wound. It's not really going to help anything. But surely even short-term help is better than nothing at all. And like I said, I wish I could do more, but I just can't. So if you could, at any time of year, if there are any homeless that you know of, that you think that you could help, then please think about helping them. Because a lot of the time, it is not their fault. A lot of the ones that I've come across in my time, I would honestly say 90% of them have got mental health issues. And they've been made homeless because of those issues. Because their families either can't or don't want to help them deal with that, it's probably too much for them. It might be too upsetting for them. I don't know. I actually really don't know. Anyway, I wanted to end this chat with you on a little bit of a lighter note, because I can see we're sort of coming up to nearly the end of our time together, and I didn't want it all to be sort of down in the dumps, so I apologise about that, but you know me, it comes from here. It doesn't necessarily always come from here. But I was thinking today about the different music that I liked, and I just wondered if any of you sort of did the same as me, and depending on the mood you're in, the different types of music that you like to listen to. Now, I think I've mentioned before that I like heavy metal, and I've seen AC/DC, I've seen Iron Maiden, I've seen White Snake, I've seen, oh my goodness, Jethro Tull, I've seen Judas Priest, the Scorpions, Jeff Beck, and of course my beloved Motorhead 4 times. So I've got all of that stuff if I really want to, because I do like a good heavy beat, and I suppose they're my first choice of music. But then I was thinking to when I was a lot younger, before I got into that stuff, and I used to love the Jacksons singing Shake Your Body Right Down to the Ground. I love that one. I love Donna Summer. One of the first songs I remember as a child that I love to this day is Sugar Sugar by the Archies. I absolutely love that song. And I was actually thinking another video I might do is like my top 10 or top 20 all-time favourite songs. So if that's something that you'd like me to do, please let me know, because I would love to do something like that for you. What was the other thing I was going to say? Are times if I'm in a more mellow mood, I would have the Blue Danube Waltz on a loop if I could, because that's my favourite waltz. I love Peer Gynt by Grieg. I like a guy called Steve Earle. He did a song called Copperhead Road. I absolutely love that song. It's brilliant. And I like, I forgot to say, I've seen Alice Cooper, and I've seen Twisted Sister. So I've seen quite a few bands in my time. Just different songs for different moods. I caught myself singing along to ABBA the other day. What was it? It was Badly Mind. I sang badly to it. It was Thank You for the Music. So I was singing along to that, and I really cheered myself up after listening to that. So I love ABBA. And what else was I listening to today? Layla by Eric Clapton. I was singing along to that. Chris Rea's The Road to Hell. That was a good one. What's another one? Led Zeppelin. Absolutely love Led Zeppelin. And I was singing along to Stairway to Heaven, which I suppose is everybody's favourite. But they've got, there's a few Led Zeppelin songs I really love. And Black Sabbath as well. Love Black Sabbath. So I've got all different kinds of music that I listen to for all different types of reasons. Like Casey and the Sunshine Band. love their stuff, you know. I was, do you know, some of the titles of some of their ones, I wish I could remember what they were. But what I'm going to have to do for another video is I'm going to do my top 20 favourite songs of all time. I think I'm trying to think of all the different favourite albums. I do know that it's the Beatles' Abbey Road's 50th anniversary, and that shows you how old I am, because I remember that my older brother bought it back in, it was 1969, and he brought it home, and I remember singing Maxwell's Silver Hammer, and the little song that Paul McCartney sang about the Queen, Her Majesty. So I did love that one. But like I said, there's all different songs for all different reasons. If I was asked to pick my two favourite Rolling Stones songs, I would tell you that it would be, first and foremost, Jumpin' Jack Flash, which I absolutely adore that song, and Gimme Shelter, which I also love. One of my favourite albums of all time, where I love every track, is Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. That is a wonderful album. I don't think I've ever known anybody have a wrong word to say about that album. And one of my favourite tracks from that album is, I think it's called Don't Stop. And another one's The Chain. Love that song. Honestly, I could just rabbit on. I think that's all I've done today, is just sit across the table from you and just relaxed and just talk to all of you. And it's like just sitting around with my friends round the table. And I mean, I'm not saying I imagine that I hear you talking back to me, because, you know, I don't do that, but it's like almost sort of imagining you're all sitting around the table with me, and we're sitting having a cuppa, and it's a case of you asking me, what's your favourite music? What have you been doing today? How have you been feeling? What have you been thinking about? And I've just sat for the last half hour and told you everything I was thinking about. That's how relaxed I feel with all of you. I just feel so relaxed and at home, and it's like I'm in my safe place, you know, and this is what genuinely makes it a safe haven, doesn't it? You know, it's just, you know, nothing pre-planned, nothing scripted. It's just from here, straight out of here. And when I do the live stream, I think you're going to be mightily disappointed if you think you're going to see anything much different from how I'm acting with you now. I know a lot of people have said that, you know, when you do a live, you're completely different to what you were in a stage video. But honestly, guys, I think you're going to be very disappointed, because you're just going to, this is what you get. I'm going to be in here. Nothing's going to be different. Oh, and I'll tell you what I will tell you before I go. I am very, very annoyed. I'm going to rip an eBay seller a new one, because I should have had my witch hat delivered by Saturday morning, and it hasn't turned up. So once I've finished, you know, with you, I'm going to get onto eBay and tell this eBay seller exactly what I think of them, and I want my money back, because I'm well dischuffed, because I want to be all ready for all of you. I'm going to dress up a bit for this live stream, And, you know, I've got several little short stories, you know, some nice spooky ghost stories to share with you alongside the chat that we're going to be having. And, you know, I really do hope that you're going to be there and helping me get through it so I can give you the best experience that I can, considering it'll be really the first time, because that other first time doesn't really count. This one's going to be the first time, and it's going to be 3 weeks time, something like that. Anyway, it'll all take care of itself. It'll be all right on the night, as they say. Okay then, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. I do hope you've enjoyed our little chat. If you haven't, I'm sorry. I've just realised what I was actually going to talk to you about today. It wasn't my planned thing and it completely went out my head. Doesn't matter, I'll save it for another time. Right, loves. I love you all. I will see you all on Wednesday. I'm thinking of doing Brer Rabbit. I want to say thank you to Daphne, Daphne. Hi, Daphne. For suggesting Brer Rabbit. She did suggest it to me a few months back, I think. And it went, you know, in my head, and I thought about it. And I thought, yes, that's a really good idea. And then, you know, my brain's out, went flying out the window. But she's reminded me again about Brer Rabbit. And I think I'm going to look up some Brer Rabbit stories and read something of that to you. Because the following week is a birthday requested video from one of our Haveners, Claire. And she's asked for a dedicated video for her mum. And it's going to be the Little Match Girl. So if any of you like the Little Match Girl, it won't be this week. It's going to be next Wednesday, the 16th. So be great if you could tune in for that if you want to listen to the Little Match Girl. So there you go. Something for us all to look forward to. Right, so I'll see you all on Wednesday then, all of you, the Folk Tales fans. And I will see the Paranormal Crew. Usual spooky time, usual spooky place. You know where to find me. I love you all. Take care. See you later. Bye for now. Bye.